Hello everybody, hope everyone is well and welcome to episode 7 of the Yes to Fitness podcast, the podcast for winners looking to better themselves through fitness. So episode 7 is going to be my first solo podcast of my Yes to Fitness channel. I've been doing podcasts with special guests such as other online coaches, my personal coach. However, I wanted to break off and do a couple of episodes throughout the series of my personal journey and personal thoughts on subjects. So I'm going to be touching base on a variety of subjects that are relative to fitness and self-improvement. So if any of you have got any subjects you would like me to touch on that would help you, whether it will be a first-timer show, how to prep for it, thoughts on different categories, how to control lifts in the gym, anything like that, then drop me a suggestion on my personal social media or my Yes to Fitness social media. Both links can be found in the bio on any of these podcasts, no matter what platform you're listening on. And I'll be glad to talk about this in the future and make you aware of when that episode has been recorded. So please reach out. The more I can talk about, the happier I'll be. So, feel free to reach out and let me know what I could touch base on, give my thoughts, opinions, and hopefully if you gain one positive out of that, then it's been a successful podcast for me. So I've rambled on a little bit there. I'm going to jump straight into this podcast. So welcome to episode 7 of the Yes to Fitness podcast, the podcast for winners looking to better themselves through fitness. And today, my first solo podcast is going to be based on my personal journey so far in the fitness industry. So I'm going to rewind back sort of 4 years now. I'm going to go back to around 2017, 2016 and talk about my journey from there. So I've always been into the gym, from a relatively young age. I never really lifted in secondary school. It was mainly when I started going to uni that fitness came into my life. So at uni, I joined obviously after my A-levels, so I was around 17, 18. I used to do a bit of running. I'm not a big fan of running now, if I'm honest. I always struggle with my legs with running, but I've done a bit of running, so I used to run to the gym. When I joined uni, I joined a David Lloyd's, which was next to the campus in Hertfordshire. The University of Hertfordshire is where I went to. And I used to go there as and when I could. I signed up with a friend. So we used to agree that we'd go together. So I never really went on my own initially. And when I joined the gym, I had no clue on what nutrition was. If I'm going to be honest, if someone said to me it was 70% nutrition and 30% being in the gym, I would have said it's utter nonsense. I thought, how can you not make progress if you're going to a gym and lifting? However, on the flip side of that now, I was completely wrong in my opinion. So, you do learn as you go along. But yeah, I used to go and train. Didn't really know what efficiency was. Didn't really lift to my max. Was a bit nervous around people that were bigger than me, etc. If it was a busy crowd in the gym that day, you'd opt to do different machinery that you were maybe comfortable with. I didn't go in with a set routine. I just went in and was like, okay, I'm going to do some bicep curls now. Maybe I'll try out a bit of squatting. There was no set days, no set routine. So I always felt good in the gym. I always came out feeling better on myself. It was a David Lloyd's. It was great. Used to go and sit in the sauna after. Everything was enjoyable, but there was no real progression from that. I just used to enjoy it. But then I sort of was going to the gym for sort of a year. As you do go to the gym, you do see some initial gains, some initial progress. So I decided that I wanted to get a personal trainer and realised what I was doing wrong. So that's why I went and done. My first year training was all on my own. But after a year, I got a personal trainer. And I used to have him once a week. So at the gym, we used to just train. And that's when I sort of started to learn about intensity in the gym. Used to walk away from the gym actually aching, which doesn't really normally happen when you don't put much intensity into your sessions. So the first year I used to just feel good, used to get a pump coming out of the gym, but never really felt sore. So I was seeing improvements with a personal trainer, and I was happy. So I carried on for about 6 months with a personal trainer, but again, didn't really see huge progression because, again, my knowledge on nutrition just wasn't there. I ate a lot, I thought, what I needed to do, but it just wasn't consistent. It wasn't the right foods. I often had takeaways, and just never looked defined. I always had that vision in my mind. Ross Dickerson was actually my idol at the time. I used to have a picture of him on my phone that I was like, showed my PT and was like, I'd like to look like that. Why don't I look like that? I've been training now for a little while, and I don't look anything like that, kind of thing. And that was my initial sort of motivation to get to, and why I started wanting to go to the gym more. So yeah, for me, although I had a personal trainer, we never touched base on the nutrition side of things, how to control that, what to eat, when to eat. Cardio was never a thing in that day. Why would I go to the gym and waste my time on a treadmill? Absolutely not. So cardio was non-existent for me back then. But yeah, that sort of took me to around the middle of 2016, 2017, because I'd done a few years at uni. And then for me, it all took a back step as well in the gym around that time. So a little bit of a backstory, which is what I wanted to do in this podcast, was the end of 2017, the end of 2016. It was December 2016. I was in my final year of uni, and I decided to start a business. So at university, I was studying automotive engineering with motorsport. Motorsport was always my initial passion. For those of you who didn't know, I used to race karts many years. Me and my dad used to do it. We were with a team. We used to be relatively competitive in sort of the British Championships, and we never done the European Championships, but it's always been a huge hobby of mine. Me and my dad loved it. It was a great bonding time. We've had some amazing memories, and it's also stuck with me. It's like a drug. I can't get away from it. And I also work in motorsport now, still in the karting, because it's just such a passion of mine, like the bodybuilding. I just can't get away from it. So I still do that now. But although I work in motorsport, when I initially was doing it at university, I decided to start a kart team of my own. So instead of racing, I decided to start a kart team where I would help other people, which was a huge investment of my time, money, sacrifices, gaining trust in people, reaching out to people I haven't reached out to before to support me and help me, and it was a whole different avenue of things I needed to do in order to create a business that would work and be sustainable. So a huge learning curve. But what this also created for me was the fact that I then took a back step at the gym. I started the business and was doing my final year at uni, so things were hectic. I wasn't the smartest at uni. I got a 2-1 in the end, but it wasn't through ease of just sitting in lectures and listening. It was through hard graft of having to spend a lot more hours at uni, in the library, long late nights, doing coursework, learning to enable me to get that 2-1. It wasn't a walk in the park, and I'm grateful I'd done it, but it took a lot of my time up and meant that to make a successful business, it was two lots of a lot of time, which meant I was working stupid hours, 100 hours a week, and it took its toll on the gym. I used to go maybe once, twice a week for like an hour. Didn't really have that energy in the gym because my nutrition wasn't great, so I was already feeling tired, and then knowing that I would probably have to go back to the uni after my session just didn't give me the motivation while I was in there. So the gym really took a back step there. So leading on from my final year, I knew that the position my business was in with the motorsport wouldn't allow me to live a sustainable life with the income that I was gaining from it, because I only started it that year. So I got offered a job from my employer of my placement year at uni, which was automotive engineering, a company called PSA, which is Peugeot, Citroën, Vauxhall, and I got a job with them. So it was tough because I was doing two jobs. That job was in the week. The motorsport was mainly at the weekends, but it meant a few nights after work as well. So for that whole sustainable period, the gym was a back foot for me as well. So it was mad. I mean, I moved to Lincoln as well and was working in Luton, so it was a 2-hour commute each way. I used to leave work about 4:30 in the morning, get home around 7. So I would either go to the workshop for the motorsport straight from work there and not get home till about 10, and then I have to get back up at 4 again to go to work. Or I would, if I didn't have to go to the workshop that night, I would try and go to the gym, but again, the energy just wasn't there. So life was mad. It was a massive learning curve. It was enjoyable, it was stressful, it was tiring, but I'm glad I've done it, and I never regret anything that I've done. I wanted to make something of it, but at the end of 2018, the relationship I was in when I moved to Lincoln wasn't working out because I just was never there. And, life was just crazy. I didn't have time to sit back and reflect on what I was actually doing. So that relationship didn't work out. So I then decided to move back closer to where my work was, which near Luton. So I moved back about half an hour away from there. So it saved me sort of 3 hours a day on travelling, and enabled me the time to then get back to the gym, do a bit more of what I love. But again, December 2018, 2 years into the business, I decided that actually I just need to focus my time on the job I've got. It was being well paid. There was sites for promotion, which eventually got. So I was like, I'm going to take a step back from my business. As much as I've got passion for it, I need to invest more time, money, which I haven't got into it to make it work. So I took a step away from the motorsport business. Just worked my normal job, which was for PSA, like I say, Peugeot, Citroën, Vauxhall, as a manufacturing engineer. So I still was traveling with them. I traveled around Europe. I used to basically install different machinery into the factories that produce the cars. So I used to have to go to different countries to buy off different pieces of machinery before it got sent to the factories, and it was an amazing experience. But I soon realised it wasn't where my full passion lied. That wasn't the walk of life that I wanted to take. I think I've gained from the experience of being in the motorsport team or owning the motorsport team that my true passion was to work for myself and be free with that side of things. So I then stopped that business, and I managed to go to the gym more, focus knuckling down on saving, and bought a property myself near where I worked in around mid-2019. I was 23 at the time, so huge achievement, really happy with that. But it also meant I was going to the gym a bit more. My dad was into the gym, my whole family's into the gym. My sister, a couple of years before that, Senna, she'd competed, but I wasn't really that interested, if I'm honest. Reflecting on it, I should have been a lot more interested and supported her a bit more. If I'd known what it had actually taken to do a competition, I probably would have been there for her a lot more. But I wasn't really in that focus zone. I was working a lot. I wasn't really channeling much time into other people than just myself. So I wasn't really there for her competition. But, my old man sort of understood what it took for her to do it. And knew that I was into the gym. So my whole fitness journey really started around June 2019. So I was working just a normal job in the week. I now had my own place and was settled, and things were looking good. I was in a good shape. I had more time on my hands to do the things I wanted to do. So I was spending more nights at David Lloyd's, sometimes just in the sauna. I like to have a sauna and a chill out, and it's a fantastic place for it. But I was there more, meeting more people, getting more inspired from some of the people in there. And when it came to June 2019, the journey really started for me. So my dad lives down in Kent, and Jace was a coach or training down at LRF, the same gym as my dad. And my dad actually jumped on a program with Jace before I did. So dad would sign up to a program with Jace and was getting some good results, from getting a nutrition plan, which he never had before, and spoke to me about it. And he ended up signing me up for Jace's 12-week challenge, which he ran from June 2019 through to August. So it was where my journey started, and I had some good size to me. I had no definition. I had, potential there because I had been training and doing bits for years before, but there was nothing there to say that I had a good physique. It was just, it looked like I was quite fat. So, that 12 weeks, my body changed so much. I went from 79 kilo to 65, 67. So I dropped a kilo a week. But it was the first time I'd ever seen abs. I didn't think it was possible for me to get abs. I had veins popping everywhere, and I got in the most unreal shape I'd ever been in 12 weeks of sticking to some sort of food plan and training in the gym 5 days a week. The first 12 weeks I was with Jace, I was on a single split rotation, so it was 5 days a week. I think I was doing chest and triceps. I was doing back and biceps, legs, shoulders and chest, I believe, and an arm session. So I think that was my 5-day split. I can't quite remember now. I have actually got the plan somewhere that I printed off, but it's not with me at this current time at my desk. So, and yeah, my transformation my body completely transformed. I was doing cardio, which I'd never done before. I was loving the process. I could not believe by changing a few variables, of which that's all it was, I used to eat, I used to go to the gym, and now all of a sudden I'm eating, I go to the gym, but I've added in a bit of cardio and I've changed the way I eat. I've managed to transform my body to this, and it just amazed me. I couldn't believe it. So after that 12-week transformation had finished, we had a holiday in Thailand, which was the best holiday I've ever had with my family. It was phenomenal. We got up to so many things. We saw so many sights. I was in the best shape I'd ever been, so I was hungry in front of the camera. Get the photos of me. And it was just unbelievable. So it was such a confidence boost, and I couldn't believe how good I felt just by the way my physique looked while I was out there. So when we got back, I stayed with Jace. I won a competition of the 12-week shred. So, people voted on Instagram, etc., for who they thought had the best transformation out of Jace's 12-week challenge, and I won that. So I won my initial investment of that back. So that went straight back to Jace, and I was like, right, let's continue this coaching and see what we can do. So we reverse dieted back out of that, and in December, the 27th of December 2019, we decided to prep for a competition. Jace was like, you'd be ready to step on stage next year. And if you'd have asked me at the beginning of 2019, would you ever step on a bodybuilding stage, I would have laughed. By December 2019, I was actually preparing to do it. So I couldn't believe the transformation. And from them 12 weeks, I got into some relatively good shape, obviously not stage shape, but I wanted to then see how far I could actually push my body. And because I enjoyed the process, I wanted to do it. If I'd have hated them 12 weeks, but I got some good shape, I probably would have done it again at some point. But, I probably would have gone back to my usual ways. But the fact that I loved the process pushed me to then want to do it even more. So that was the start of this whole journey. I started prep on the 27th of December, ready for the PCA first timer show, which was going to happen in April 2020. It was going to be in Birmingham, and we prepped throughout the whole of January, February, March for that. If you take a look at my Instagram and scroll back to then, you'll see a few progress pictures from when I initially started my prep to where I got to. So we got to 2 weeks out, and obviously we are in a pandemic still. When I'm recording this, we're in our third lockdown, but lockdown number 1 happened and COVID became a thing, and the show was cancelled 2 weeks out. I was devastated. I cannot put into words how much it hit me. I was actually preparing for one of my final PT exams. I'd done my PT course online with Premier Global, which is another story that I'll get onto, but I was preparing for an exam that night. I'd come home from work. I had my exam booked for 6 p.m, I think, so I was revising from 4. I had my phone put away because I wanted to revise for this exam, and something was just telling me to pick my phone up and check Instagram, and I don't know why. And I did. I picked my phone up, I checked Instagram, and the first post was to tell me that the PCA show, first time a show in April, had been cancelled because of COVID, and I didn't know what to do. I was still revising for exam I had at 6 o'clock. I think I checked my phone at like 5:25, something like that. I was only about half an hour before my exam, and I was just distraught. It was almost a good thing for me, really, because I still knew I had that exam to do, so I cracked on with that. I did pass it, but afterwards, I just didn't know what to do. The gyms were still open at this time. I messaged a friend that I was training with, and we ended up meeting at the gym, and I'd just done a session, and I was just so emotionless about everything that I was just so upset about the show being cancelled. All this effort, I put 10 weeks of prep, 12 weeks of prep, whatever it was, into competing for a show, for it to not happen. Why me? Why has this happened to me? But then everyone that had prepped for that show was in the same boat, and I was proud of the way that I handled that coming out of it. Again, if you scroll through my Instagram, you can see that we went into a lockdown, absolutely hideous time, but I managed to stay relatively lean throughout the whole lockdown, and this is where having an online coach was almost essential for me. Jace kept me on the straight and narrow throughout the whole of the first lockdown by being accountable and knowing that I had to check in with him each week, twice a week. Kept me accountable. I would get to say, like a Tuesday, no, I had check-in on Wednesday, so I would be scared to, binge or indulge in food because I knew I had check-in the next day, and I knew Jace would know because the weight would have gone up, etc. So it kept me accountable from doing that, and we pushed throughout the whole of the first lockdown, looking relatively lean and in good shape. And I actually booked a photo shoot, which Jace told me about 12 days before it was due. So I was in relatively good shape, and Jace 12 days before was like, look, Simon, SNH Photos, got a photo shoot opportunity. Do you want to do it? I was like, absolutely yes, let's just get it done. So we prepped for 12 days for that, and we got in better shape than I did at the end of them 12 weeks, so the first of 12 weeks, and the photos came out, and I was like, wow, is that really me? That's awesome. Like, I was super, super happy with how they turned out. So yes, I'd missed the show, but I look at it and it was a secret blessing. If I'd have stepped on stage in April, I probably wouldn't have been ready with my posing. I probably would have looked not out of place, but I was quite small, and I'm just so thankful that I didn't step on stage in April and waited till October when I initially stepped on stage 2020. So yeah, the photo shoot showed me what I had underneath, what I actually looked like, and I was super, super happy, and it just motivated me even more to push through the next few lockdowns. So I was starting to learn a bit more about the whole process, and going back to the PT course, I decided, I think around December 2019, to, when I started prep, do a PT course just to learn a little bit more. I'm someone who likes to understand why things happen or why we do things a certain way. So I thought, for the prep, it would help me to knuckle down and do a PT course to maybe teach me about, all the macros and different lifts, etc., so that I could maximize my potential with my prep. If I picked up a couple of things on nutrition or understood why, then maybe I would adhere to it more, or maybe I'd pick up why we do certain lifts or how we do certain lifts through the course, and it would help me for my show. So yeah, I'd done a PT course for that from December 2019, and then lockdown hit and it enabled me to finish it quicker and get that done in a few months. So I wanted to then use that qualification. I'd been furloughed and I didn't have much to do, so I wasn't working. We didn't have time to go to the gym because there was no gyms open. So what was I going to do? And I used my PT course then to expand it. And so I finished a PT course, signed up to 2 more. So I'd done a weight loss course and I'd done an extended nutrition course that enabled me to become a level 4 personal trainer, but I still haven't used that. I've never personal trained in a gym, but I wanted to then use it for something else. So I became an online coach myself in 2020. Now, Jace has always been there for me throughout my whole prep since we started talking, and mentioned that him and Team LRF, Rob Whitfield, were going to do a 6 months, not crash course, but a 6-month mentoring course into becoming an online coach. And I was like, this timing has worked out perfectly. Like, this is meant to be. So I signed up to the 6-month mentoring with Jace and Rob, and I wouldn't say it was cheating. What it done for me was allow me to learn their mistakes so that I wouldn't make them initially. I could have spent 2 years of initially being an online coach, making mistakes that they've already made and learning from them, which is a good process to do. We all do it throughout business, but it then allowed me to use their mistakes and hear their mistakes and how they rectified them, or what to do to not make their mistakes within that 6-month period, so that I was 2 years into the game before it even started. And it was the best investment I've made. I learned so much from it. Again, like being on prep, it kept me accountable to being a good online coach. And here is where I'm at now. We are in the start of 2021, and I've gone from 0 to 40 clients online, and I've now left my job. October 2020, just before my show, I left my job as a manufacturing engineer for PSA to become a full-time online coach. So it was a risky decision. We were in a lockdown, but I still was so passionate about it. And it was frustrating me that I was having to do a job and not put all my time and effort into coaching, because I wanted to give my best to the clients, and being pulled away into meetings, etc. during the day while at work. Although I wasn't a massive online coach, didn't have tons of clients, it was still annoying me that I couldn't be there and do everything I could for my clients. So I wanted to show that this was my passion, this is what I want to do, and that I'm not just someone who wants a little bit of money on the side to say I'm an online coach because I've stepped on stage. This is truly, truly what I want to do. So I left my job, and I'm now a full-time online coach who sometimes goes away with the motorsport, of the weekends, but my sole job is to support people in changing their physiques, because the way my life has improved from changing mine and becoming a general better person, from having more discipline because of what I learned in the gym and with my nutrition, it's helped me across business, it's helped me across mindset, it's helped me just become a better person. And for me, it's not just about getting a better look aesthetically, it's about all these extra things. And that's what I try and install into my clients. Although they get fantastic results, my favorite comments always when they come back and say, I'm more confident, or people are noticing that I'm better about myself, and that every day for them is better because they're not focusing on the small things. their mindset is that they're in a better place now and they can focus on overcoming these smaller problems. And that is what, for me, on being an online coach is about. We get the results from the transformations, we get people looking the best they've ever been, but they also feel better in themselves. So yeah, the journey's been mad. I mean, I've stepped on stage as well for the first time, which I finally got to do in October 2020. Again, check out my Instagram. There's the photos from there. I'm a men's physique competitor. And we stepped on stage. My first show, came away third, which I was super, super happy about. Of course, I went there to win. But there was some phenomenal physiques. Considering we'd been through a lockdown in 2020, the standard was so high, especially for a first-timer show. And yeah, couldn't believe it. What an experience as well. I was one of the best days of my life. I need to thank everyone who was there for me during that period, throughout prep, family, my girlfriend at the time, just crazy support, and couldn't have done it without them. But I then now want to push on and take people through that journey of prepping for photo shoots and shows and support them through that with the emotion that I had from mine and the understanding I had from mine, to make them feel as comfortable as possible throughout these processes and change their lives for the better, which is 100% what it's done for me. And speaking to the industry and people that have got into it and seeing these transformations, it's changed theirs as well. So it's just phenomenal what these small changes can do. And it's really just having the knowledge, when you see these transformations, they are real. Sometimes they're hard to believe. You see them and you think, how the hell can someone do that from this time frame? But again, it just comes down to knowledge. When you put all these little factors together about eating healthily, cardio, training, making your training efficient, rest, all these factors put together create some phenomenal physiques. Whether it's a phenomenal physique as in aesthetically being able to step on stage with that physique, or a phenomenal physique as in losing 10 stone or whatever it may be. All these transformations are phenomenal. And yeah, this is the journey that I've been through. I just want to sort of end up or round this off by just saying, everything's possible. It's just maybe opening up and being able to see that it's possible, taking a step back, reflecting and realizing that things are possible. And that's what I wanted to do this podcast on, is taking myself back 4 years, writing out my journey on a bit of paper before I started this podcast, and realizing what I'd been through and what stages I hit that made the biggest changes for me. To then understand that you have come a long way and that things are possible. At each stage I've been through, there are hundreds and thousands of people out there that are at that same stage I was, wanting to make the same change, but not necessarily believing that change is possible. So I just wanted to say, don't be afraid to reach out for support, especially with how big social media is and the situation we are in. There are so many people online that are willing to give out advice. Just drop them a message. Look up to your inspirations, drop them a message. I'm pretty sure most of them will reply, because we're all here to support each other. The industry of fitness and coaching, everyone is out there to support someone, not judge someone, because they understand that everyone's been through that part of that journey at least once. So no one's judging you from no matter what shape you're currently in. Everyone that goes to a gym, whether you are 2 days out from a show just trying to get your pump for that show day, or you've just entered the gym for the first time because you've decided you want to make a change in your life and you are 25 stone, you're all there to better yourself. And once you're in the gym, no one is there to judge. No one is there to criticize or laugh at what your current stage is at, because everyone is in there for the same sole reason to improve themselves and become fitter. So that's what I just wanted to end this podcast on, was that, don't be afraid to make a change and feel you're going to be judged, because you are not. You are trying to better yourself, and especially with the situation we're in, mental health as well is such a strong point. And for me, being in the gym has changed my life mentally. I'm much stronger, more resilient now because of the gym. So it's not just a case of becoming fitter. It's a case of becoming mentally more resilient and better and stronger throughout life. So I'm going to end the podcast there. Thank you for listening to my personal journey. I wanted to share it. I wanted to logbook it, really. To listen back on later years, maybe do another one, years down the line, and reflect on them 4 years that I've been through and what's happened. But also share with you guys that, if you have been in one of them stages that I've been in my past, then, it's possible for you. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And again, just thanks for listening. So, feel free to reach out to me on either of my accounts. Please drop me a message. I'll put the links in below. Like I say, you can see the links to my Instagram or Facebook or website on any of the platforms that you may be listening to this podcast to. And thank you for joining in on episode 7 of the Yes to Fitness podcast, my personal journey for the last 4 years. And I hope you can take away at least one positive from this podcast. If it helps you in some sort of way, then please feel free to reach out and let me know, or share this podcast on your social media so that it can help others. Everything like that is hugely appreciated from me. And I shall catch up with you all very soon.